For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never, ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
The face of truth is open. The eyes of truth are bright. The lips of truth are ever closed. The head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward. The gaze of truth is straight. Truth has neither fear nor doubt. Truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching. The voice of truth is deep. The law of truth is simple. All you sow, you reap. The soul of truth is flaming. The heart of truth is warm. The mind of truth is clear and firm through rain and storm. Facts are only its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle of life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is the cross. Wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal. Immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure. Truth shall hold to the last.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
I told you so. The Prime Minister would have to address the nation on this 2.5% levy. That's because of what we heard from the Executive Director of the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce, the concerns that were raised, and the need for more time before its implementation. Welcome to another edition of NewsSpin right here on Power 97.9 FM. We are also on YouTube and the NewsSpin Facebook page. My name is Timothy Poleon. The broadcast goes up until 2 o'clock this afternoon, and I'll be hearing from you at 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Coming up on the broadcast, you'll be hearing from the Prime Minister. We have a couple of reminders for you. And also imagine the threesome in the morning makes it on this afternoon's NewsSpin broadcast. First, the Prime Minister did not have a choice. He had to speak on this 2.5% levy fiasco. Why is it a fiasco? First, you announced with such bravery during your budget presentation that this levy will come into effect on the 1st of July. And you told us what it was meant to cover: health and security. For me, that is a misnomer, because in that Zane Romulus report, which we played yesterday and was aired on the DBS News World, the Chamber Executive Director is quoting Ministry of Finance officials as saying that the revenue would not have a specific designation, not specifically health and security. It will cover a range of matters. So this thing about a health and security levy, let's just call it what it is. It's just another tax. It is a levy to cover as many things as possible as far as the financing of the government's programs. There's been a shortfall in finances, and the government would have to meet that shortfall. It has to impose some form of taxation on you. The big question is, how will this impact you as of August the 2nd? How will this affect your life as of August the 2nd? That is, for me, the point that we need to highlight. And for people, for example, who are earning pittance for salary, how will this impact them? Because the spending power is being diminished every now and then. Inflation is very high. The cost of living is high. Talk about the cost of fuel, the cost of items at our supermarkets, and add to that a 2.5% levy. Let us hear from the Prime Minister in that Riani Isidore report came out yesterday, in which the Prime Minister is saying that he has had to, upon consultation with the various stakeholders, he's had to make some changes with regard to the implementation date of that 2.5% levy.
Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, continues to hold extensive stakeholder consultations on his government's newly proposed health and security levy to ensure a seamless rollout and to best prepare consumers and the local business community for the health and security levy. The Prime Minister has considerately decided to delay the commencement date by 1 month. The revised date for the implementation of the health and security levy is August 2nd, 2023.
Because of consultation and the need to discuss with the stakeholders and people involved, we have pushed that date to the 2nd of August. So the health and security levy will be implemented from the 2nd of August. I want to reiterate and say one more time that there are no increased taxes on food products or medical products. The health and security levy will be on the same goods for which we have the value-added tax. There's going to be no addition to these goods, and there will be no taxes on food and medical supplies.
Prime Minister Pierre crafted the health and security levy to help the government generate new revenue to fund law enforcement and public health care projects for a reinforced national security apparatus and expand access to healthcare services at lower costs to St. Lucian citizens. The levy is expected to annually generate at least 33 million EC dollars for the government of St. Lucia. Consumer prices on food and medicine products will not be affected.
There will be no levy on food or medical supplies. For the last time, there will be no levy on food or medical supplies.
St. Lucia's legislators will further elucidate on the health and security levy during a scheduled Parliament sitting. From the office of the Prime Minister, Riani Isidore.
Report was filed yesterday, and we are endeavoring to speak with the leader of the parliamentary opposition right now and former Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Mr. Alan Chasney. And it was only yesterday that the Miku South MP did write a letter to the Prime Minister airing his concerns. So Mr. Chasney is online right now. Hello and good afternoon to you, Mr. Chasney. Hello.
Good afternoon, Tim. How are you?
I'm okay. How about you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you.
I'm doing well, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us on NewsSpin. Your take on the decision of the Prime Minister to reschedule the date for the implementation of this 2.5% levy to August the 2nd.
First of all, I have to say that what has happened in the last 24 hours between the interview that was done with the Chamber of Commerce as it pertains to the meeting with the government, in which it was now revealed that the tax or the levy is not going to go to security or to health, and that the monies are going to be going into the consolidated fund. I want to say that this is something that we pointed out when the Prime Minister made the first announcement of this in Parliament. Because when you look at the budget, there was no increase in the allocation for health and education. In fact, there's a $10 million decrease in the allocation for health. The second thing is that here we are, that on the eve of when we were supposed to start the tax, and the government has had sufficient time because they're the ones who designed this tax or this levy in the first place, and they didn't know how they were implemented. It's clear to everyone that this government intended to increase the VAT to 15%. And they were so embarrassed by the reactions of the general public that they tried to disguise it as a levy for health and security. And the mechanism that they're going to be using, which I understand is that there will be a 2.5% levy at the port and a 2.5% levy on other services. So let me give you an example, Tim. If you are a hairdresser and you are renting your premise, you're currently paying the rent and you're paying 12.5% VAT on that. You now will have to pay the rent, the 12.5% VAT, and the 2.5% levy now is going to be applied on top of that. So it's what we call a compounded tax rate. So this is really egregious. This is just dishonest on the government's part. And I think that it is an ill-designed tax, and it's going to have negative impacts. When I hear the Prime Minister want to say that tax is not going to be on foods or on medicine. So he does not believe that the business houses now faced with an additional cost are not going to increase their profit margin on some of those items, and that they're not going to pass on this tax that they're paying on other items on those items themselves. I mean, it completely shows the incompetence of this government. And everything that they seem to be doing these days is that their level of incompetence and lack of any kind of originality is showing up. And sadly, Tim, we're all going to be paying the price for this. Every single solution is going to be paying for the price for this. The momentum that we left this country in, 12.5% growth in 2021, 18.5% growth in 2022, projects that were already earmarked, the HIA Airport, the St. Jude, the Rodney Bay Road, the list can go on. The Cabot properties, the Factor Mall, the DSH project, the Marriott Courtyard, all of these are initiatives that we started, and all they had to do was to continue with it. And they've chosen now to convince people that there was corruption and that these were ill-designed projects. And now we're seeing the benefit of what we were doing, and sadly we're left with wondering if in fact that they had continued with those projects, how much further ahead we would be. But instead, they're now going to impose more taxes. And let me say this, Kim. This is not the only tax. When you allow the gas prices to be in excess of $17 a gallon, that's a tax. When you've allowed bus fares to go up and the price of bread to go up, those are taxes that are based on the burden of this country. And more importantly, at the footsteps, the doorsteps of the most vulnerable people in our society.
The big question is, where would the government get the shortfall to fill the shortfall in revenue that it has experienced, especially in the aftermath of COVID-19, if not via a tax? And some are describing this as minuscule, just 2.5%. And that is according to Chartered Accountant Richard Pitterkin, who spoke earlier today on the threesome in the morning on Power 97.9. He's saying it's not something significant, 2.5%.
Yeah, but it's a compounded tax. And the significance of it is that they're expecting to raise $33 million. That's $33 million that would have been in circulation in the economy, in households and in businesses. Instead, it's going to be in the government hands. For the government to do what? The government is not addressing the problems. You cannot repay all of the losses that were incurred over COVID in 1 year. So we need to continue to grow our economy, to grow the income base, and in growing that economic base, we will collect more taxes. And the government also knows to practice the level of austerity. I see ministers traveling all over the places. I see extravagant parties and functions taking place. I mean, the amount of money that we spent on jazz, is that giving you the sense that this is a government that has an understanding of the financial situation and it's putting into practice what it's preaching? No, it's just passing that burden on to every single solution and to hell with everybody else. And the reality is when they did it in 2012 and put the VAT rate up to 15%, we saw the results. People closed down their businesses. People were sent home. And I expect the exact same thing to take place. And sadly for us, this is coinciding a time in which the Ministry of Tourism, particularly the minister and the chairman of the Tourism Board, who know nothing about tourism and their inexperience is now, we're all paying the price. It's unbelievable. Airlift is being cut to St. Lucia, but it's being increased to other places. And they're coming back to tell us, the airlines say they don't have any other planes. But yet their planes going to the other destinations, and they're not coming to St. Lucia. And instead of spending money marketing the destination, you're putting on a jazz festival. For whom? Do St. Lucians, are they grateful that they get a free concert? Sure. But after the concert is done, what is there to show for it?
What would you have done? What would you have done differently, Mr. Shasting?
Easy. We would have continued with the HI Airport. HI Airport should be opening now. We would have continued the pace and taking advantage of opening our doors early and maintain the airlift that we had. We had flights to Chicago, flights to Newark, flights to Dallas. All those flights are gone. We would have made sure that we would have continued to grow. We would have worked with Cabot so that they could be more advanced than they are right now. We would have worked with VSH at the hotel as well as the university would have started. We would have finished St. Jude's by now. And we would be working on making sure that the old building could be converted into a university. And that money that was in circulation would give the businesses confidence to keep growing. We would continue to grow the BPO business. It hasn't grown since we've left. They don't even meet with the people. When they had the opening of ITEL BPO, they didn't show up. So we would have continued the pace of, one, continuing to grow the economy, and two, we would have introduced healthcare insurance. It's impossible, Tim, for the government to pay for healthcare insurance, given their balance sheet. We need to have a new injection of cash, and that's where the insurance came in. By making insurance mandatory for every single subscription, everybody would be contributing $1,000. Those persons who were working would share it with their employer, like we do with the NIC, and government would pay for the civil servants, and government would also pay the entire amount for the more vulnerable in our society, the elderly, and the persons who are unemployed, and the people on our poverty list. Now, all of a sudden, everybody has full access to health care. What is going on right now with this? We're only introducing a small part right now. They've done nothing. They've added nothing to the table because the fundamental part of being able to provide social services for the people of this country is to grow the economy. But they demonized it. They said economic growth is a bad thing. They said tourism was a bad thing. When I hear the minister now wanting to come and talk about after a little thunderstorm to say that tourism is resilient and it's now 40% of our GDP, etc. Really? These are the same people who said they had no confidence that after COVID that we could have recovered tourism. They don't know what they're doing. This is why I'm saying they are dishonest and they are incompetent.
But civil society and the rest of the St. Lucian public, the majority of people are very silent on such issues. I'm talking about the 2.5% levy, which will impact most of us. I mean, where do you get the courage to speak on such issues when the majority of St. Lucians, the majority of the stakeholders are silent on them?
I cannot answer for them, Tim. All I can say to you is that we've seen this in other countries as well. If we are bullied into and being intimidated into staying there, it's only going to make the bully stronger, and things will only get worse. This is our country. We have every single right in a democratic country. Let's understand what we mean by that. That we have to enshrine in our everyday life the freedom of speech. We have to enshrine the freedom of the rule of law, and then it's going to be treated everybody equally. And there are some deficiencies. There are deficiencies in that not everybody can get access to a lawyer. We need to remedy those problems. We need to hold individual rights and our rights at the highest level. And I feel very sorry for some of the civil society who seem to not want to say anything. Is it because they're being intimidated? Or is it because they agree with what the government is doing? But they're not saying one way or the other. They're not saying they agree. They're not saying they disagree. So what's the point of having these associations? But when you look in depth to those associations, Tim, and this is something I'm not saying today, but I've said repeatedly, and again, this is not tended to be a criticism, but constructive criticism. You cannot have a Chamber of Commerce in which you have one technocrat. Riley Weasley, who's been there for 20-something years. Aziz, who is the one technocrat for the Hotels Association. How can the private sector believe that they can advocate with government and not putting resources into properly research government's policies and to be able to articulate constructive criticisms or support to what government policy is? And most of us are thinking that these associations are well-equipped and well-advanced to do these things. They are not. And that's why one of the things I was trying to do was to get all of the private sector groups to come together under a private sector council, like they do in Jamaica, and share the investments of a lawyer, an economist, a psychologist, okay? So that when government policies come out, there is a genuine investigation of it. None of the individual citizens have that authority. We don't have independent voices in St. Lucia to be able to do it. And the reason why I'm saying all these things is I want better for St. Lucia. I would not be able to live with myself if I sat silently and knew something was wrong. I did not say it was wrong. And I've never been, from the time I was a young boy, been intimidated by anybody who tells me otherwise. And regardless of what the penalty is, whether I'm ostracized, whether I'm taken to court, as I said to you previously, luckily for me, I am in a position to fight. And I will use that benefit, that privilege that I was given to benefit the people of St. Lucia and St. Lucia on the whole.
All right, thank you so much for speaking with us, Mr. Former Prime Minister. You just heard there from former Prime Minister and leader of the opposition, Mr. Alan Chasney, and reacting to the government's decision to reschedule the imposition of the 2.5% levy, and that will now come into effect on the 2nd of August this year. Let's remind you of a report that was aired on the DBS News World, and that was on Tuesday evening. Report read by Zin Romulus, and it's all about stakeholders meeting between Ministry of Finance officials and private sector officials on the 2.5% levy and what came out of those discussions.
A stakeholder engagement with members of the Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture earlier this month provided an opportunity for Ministry of Finance technocrats to provide clarity on the government's proposed health and security levy. Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, Brian Louisi, says it was a good discussion, with answers being given to the queries raised. The levy was first announced by Prime Minister Philippe Pierre in his 2023-2024 budget address. As outlined in his statement, the 2.5% levy will be applied in goods and services with some exceptions, and would be used specifically to finance the health and security needs of the nation. The Chamber's Executive Director, however, says this was not what was shared by the ministry's technocrats, who indicated that the revenue generated from this tax would not have a specific designation.
The business community generally understands why the need for extra revenue, as there is a budget deficit. The business community, however, generally says. And we're hoping that this would have been an earmarked tax that would go directly towards improvement in the health and security sectors, where there's an appreciation for that to happen. However, it was indicated that this was not an earmarked tax, and it is really just going to cover current expenditures and projected expenditures, and that there would be no specific new initiatives that would have brought in that enhancement.
The business community made the point that the tax as structured, or any tax for that matter at this point, would have some inflationary impact. They also feel that the introduction of a new tax would drive down consumer demand. Another matter discussed was the implementation date, which the Prime Minister had announced as July 1st, 2023. The Ministry of Finance told those gathered that while they are working towards that date, it may have to be delayed to ensure that all the necessary administrative measures are in place and the new legislation has been enacted. Some have suggested January 1st, 2024.
The business community must be given sufficient time to prepare and notice to take action. And we also think that the government itself, the public sector itself, must be given ample time to prepare, because there have been occasions where measures have been introduced and the necessary administrative systems have not been fully put in place, and that has caused challenges for the private sector.
There was an undertaking by the Ministry of Finance to provide clarification to questions which were not answered during the meeting at a later date. Meanwhile, the Chamber continues with its own consultation with its members to get their perspectives on the health and security levy. The feedback as well as suggestions will be shared with the government. For the DBS News World, I am Zane Romulus.
This report was filed on the DBS News World on Tuesday of this week. The big question is government acting on the advice of the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, or the observation that was made by him nearly 1 year ago when he said that the value-added tax in St. Lucia was just too low at 12.5%, just about the lowest? And maybe that's what had prompted the government in response to come up with this 2.5% levy that it calls a levy for health and security. But as we heard again in that report, Ministry of Finance officials are quoted as saying the revenue would not have a specific designation. So therefore, the monies that will come out of this particular tax, $33 million annually expected to be raised, will not generally go to addressing matters pertaining to health care and the security of the nation. So that's a misnomer, saying that it's a health and security levy based on what we are hearing indirectly from Ministry of Finance officials. So the Prime Minister needs to address this categorically, because otherwise you have a situation where people will not give credence to what government ministers are saying on one hand and what government officials or technocrats are saying on the other hand. That's a lot of confusion. It's either just a levy to meet government shortfalls, financial shortfalls, or it is a health and security levy. Until such time, I will just be referring to it on NewsSpin as a 2.5% levy. We'll be hearing from the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank in just a moment. We also will be hearing from Mr. Richard Pitterkin, Chartered Accountant, partner with the St. Lucia office of Grant Thornton, Windward Islands. All that and more coming up on NewsSpin, which is being aired on Power 97.9 FM, also on YouTube and the NewsSpin Facebook page.
One of the biggest events for St. Lucia's Carnival has returned. Rum Bucket Waterland. More water, more paint, more foam. Sunday, 16th July at Gaiety Grounds from 11 p.m. Small coolers will be allowed, but no ice, no chaser. Must be 18 and older to enter. ID will be checked. Your ticket outlets are Steve's Barbershop and all the Cell outlets. Rum Bucket, Waterland.
That's when we reach the waterfront. We doing whatever the hell we want.
Get ready for more water, more paint, and more foam. Sponsored by KFC, Digicel, and White Oak.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Lazarus's Funeral Home is here for you. Lazarus's Private Cemetery offers a peaceful resting place for your loved ones. With tranquil settings, visitation, and reflection, we believe in the compassionate care of all our departed loved ones. Lazarus's Private Cemetery, let us help you create a final resting place. Make it special. Make it Lazarus's Funeral Home, your friend in a time of need. Payment plans are available for tombs. Call us in Vidbuta at 452-7491 or in New Dock Road, VA4, 454-6555.
Tired of searching all over and still can't find the auto parts you need? At Fede Auto Parts, we make it easy for you and save you the frustration and running around. From Toyota to Chevy to Daihatsu to those rare truck parts, we've got you covered. And we're quick with special orders with frequent flights from Japan, the US, and the UK. Visit our store or give us a call at 450-7500 or 484-8141. Save time and avoid the line. Fede Auto Parts, Wadawaj. Why stop anywhere else?
Contact Lucelec before trimming or cutting down trees that are near overhead electrical wires. Watch out for power lines before you begin working on a ladder. Be sure that ladders or scaffolds are far enough away so that you and the ends of the tools you're using don't come within 10 feet of power lines. And never use any electrical appliance in wet surrounding outdoors or in the rain.
This message is brought to you by Lucelec, the power of caring.
You asked for it and you got it. A quicker way to pay your bills online. It's fast, secure, and easy to use. No registration, no additional fees. Flow is now offering FastPay, an online service that allows you to settle your bills in less than 2 minutes. Need a receipt? FastPay will send it to your email immediately. Use FastPay now for convenience, safety, and efficiency at discoverflow.co/fastpay. Flow is keeping you connected.
Night Meds is your dependable neighborhood pharmacy. You'll notice that upon entry, you are greeted by caring professional staff, attentive to your every need. Your prescriptions are always treated with a high degree of confidentiality, and we pride ourselves on providing speedy, efficient service. We carry a wide array commonly requested over-the-counter products, and our prices are very competitive. We offer blood pressure testing, blood sugar, and cholesterol testing. We're open to fill your prescriptions Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Come visit Sadhu's gas station on the Miku Highway or call us at 572-6840 or WhatsApp 461-6840 for more information. Night Meds Pharmacy. We are your community med store.
Glass Supermarket continues to be your family-oriented local supermarket which spares no effort to affordably bring you the world.
Trust Glass
for quality and friendly service.
Trust Glass.
For daily excellent specials and fantastic prices,
Trust Glass.
for the best quality bread. Check out Glass for your delicious French pastries and meals.
Also, you must know that Glass caters for your special occasion with these quality French pastries and cakes.
Be sure to earn points on your Glass card as we say thank you for your support, St. Lucia. Glass Supermarkets, contact number 452-8814.
Automotive art is a place to start.
Automotive art is now bigger and better with bargains galore. Automotive art has expanded. With new exciting products and increased shopping comfort, we welcome you to visit. Celebrate with us and take advantage of our specials. New tires starting at $129, 25% off all tools and accessories, up to 75% off rims, BOGO specials, car care bundles, and other bargains galore. Automotive art, bigger and better.
On Friday, June 30th, at the Derek Walker Square, the government of St. Lucia presents the Public Service Fair. We kick off from 9:30 with an ecumenical service at the cathedral. Then we move to the Derek Walker Square for the biggest public service fair. Performances by Ezra the Fun Machine, Arthur Allen, the reigning Soca Monarchs Ross, Colts, DJ Melonquench, Javin, and more. This Friday, June 30th, the Derek Walker Square. Admission absolutely free. Inviting everyone, come on down as we celebrate the public service.
Is this a government which consults stakeholders, people whose decisions will impact it? After it has implemented a particular measure, then it decides to consult. In the case of putting the cart before the horse, as being suggested by this writer via WhatsApp, didn't the Prime Minister consult with stakeholders before taking the decision to implementing this tax? Why now is he meeting with stakeholders? And so let me take you back to August of last year. The governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy Antoine, was in conversation with DBS's Lisa Joseph, and she posed a question to him.
St. Lucia's VAT rate at 12.5%. We've heard persistently from Prime Minister Pierre that it is among the lowest, if not the lowest in the region. Of course, we know the result and effect. Less revenue government is collecting from that mechanism. Should the VAT rate then be revised given the times that we're in?
I think it has to be looked at. It certainly is one of the lowest. I mean, most countries are at 15, some at 16, some even 17%. 12.5 is the lowest. But the tourism has always had a special rate. Some countries have it at 10%, maybe one or two at 8%. I think 10% in some countries. I think it has to be reviewed. The timing of the adjustment is to be looked at because, of course, we're in the middle of a challenge with inflation. So what is the right time to do that? But at the end of the day, you have to sustain yourself. I mean, you know, when you board an airplane and you are getting your instructions, they tell you in the event of an emergency, you have to put on your oxygen mask first, and then you help others nearby. The basic moral of that story, takeaway, is if the state is not in a position itself to take care of its basic operation, it can't help others. So you have to put your fiscal house in order. Whether that means raising revenue, cutting expenditure, or a combination of. And typically it's a combination that is required to get the appropriate adjustment. So I do think it needs to be reviewed and a determination made of what is the appropriate level. And if a determination is made to change it, what is the right time to make that change?
Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy Antoine, speaking last August with DBS's Lisa Joseph. So this 2.5% levy, is this stratagem? Is it basically the government increasing the VAT in a surreptitious manner? Is that what the government has done? It's a good time to hear from you at 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Good afternoon to you, Kimani. What's in the chat room, ma'am?
Let's see. Someone says, to me, if they can't get it right with a 12.5% that was working before SLP came into office, they won't get the 15% correct either. Remember, more money, more problems. Another comment, someone says, I need some clarity here. Can we safely say that the 2.5% is tied to the 12.5% already in effect? This making it 15%, or am I paying a separate 2.5% one way and another, 12.5% in another instance? Share your thoughts, please.
I think it's a compounded tax, meaning it's added. But let us hear the Prime Minister, a clip we extracted from the Riani Isidore report. This is what the Prime Minister, he's really stressed on that.
The health and security levy will be on the same goods for which we have the value-added tax.
So you heard that from the Prime Minister. It will be on the same goods that already attract the 12.5% value-added tax.
Another comment, someone says, talk about being short-sighted, and that's a problem our Caribbean politicians are plagued with. They don't think outside the box. It's like follow the donkey. Shas is a brilliant man. Someone says, Tim, where is the Consumer Association? We need them now to speak on our behalf. We are being exploited by the largest business in St. Lucia, which is the government. Another comment, someone says, at least Chamber of Commerce spoke up late, but better late than never. Thank you. Another comment, the business community will pass on the tax increase to the consumers. Someone says, the word on the ground is that PJP is doing good.
Good in what way?
You're going to have to ask them. Someone says, St. Lucians got what they deserve. How can you tax a country so high when unemployment is so high? This is a result in increasing crime and criminal activities.
Let's take our first call. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You on the air?
Hey, brother Timmy.
Good afternoon, sir.
Long time. Golden Dragon here, man.
It doesn't matter. We didn't miss you. Go ahead.
I know you will miss you. It's a long time we haven't broken bread. You know, we haven't broken
We
bread
didn't miss you.
But I missed you, man. I missed you. Honestly,
All right.
I missed you.
What's in your mind?
Quickly, we need to break some bread sometime. I'll take you to lunch or dinner at your convenience.
No, thanks.
No thanks.
No thanks. Lunch or dinner?
I like food so much, guys, huh?
No thanks. But anyway, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, but I'll invite you still anyways. Off air. So, Timmy, you may remember that, well, you might not remember, but I came out against the reduction of the VAT. Because you see, this VAT, and it was said by a number of persons, the VAT wasn't a new tax, you know. The VAT was a replacement tax. So instead of individual little pieces of taxes here, there, and everywhere, they made one tax, one number, 15%, rather than the 4%, environment, the 5%, import tax, another percentage for something else. They made the tax into one, which made it simpler for the business people to calculate, instead of all those separate taxes. So the thing is, what you have to understand, the VAT was never, ever a new tax. It was a replacement tax. So basically you're paying the same taxes, but all in one. So when you see our former PM came and said, boy, the VAT is too high, we're going to bring it down to 12.5%. He made a humongous error. The PM, Alan Shasta at the time, made a humongous error. I came out and said that because what she did was to cut down our revenue, and the revenue was already not enough. When you thought you would have increased it by, like you said, the other countries had 16%, 17%. Even Barbados was 19.5%. So we were not getting enough revenue in the first case, and then we went cut it down to 12.5%. I mean, so right now, the PM is doing the right thing to bring it back at 15%.
Okay, but the Prime Minister should have just said, well, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm increasing it to 15% instead of saying this is a health and security levy. It's not.
That's the thing about our people. Sometimes they try to disguise things. For what? What are you disguising it for? We were not making enough revenue because of the cut. So now we're going back to our normal revenue thing. And we should have gone high and go 16%, but that's another issue. Thank you, Timmy.
All right. Thank you so much. 452-2979, 452-2979, along with your WhatsApp calls and messages, 716-2026. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello.
Boy, Tim, I don't know.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Where you gone, boy? Gone. What is the local thing on that? We gone by the what?
By the ASS.
I thought two things I want to say. I'll begin with Alan Chastney one. I thought it was an interesting question you asked him, what he would do, and interesting answer he gave in the circumstances. It's like I asked your guest last night, the CARICOM, your CARICOM guest.
Titus Prevail.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. St. Lucia, well, let's deal with St. Lucia. What do you think has changed in St. Lucia significantly in terms of our earnings, productivity, and so on for as long as you can remember to?
Nothing much has changed, only that we have received an increase in visitor arrivals because we have more hotel rooms.
Oh, but I wasn't talking about recent or so and so on. I was talking about as long as you can remember. You know, there was a time when we had green gold, right?
Mm-hmm. The only thing that's changed, we have moved from bananas to tourism as our main export earner.
What I want to talk about for a second, just to paint the picture. We were supposed to be doing so great out of green gold. And if there's one thing the speaker and I agree on, is that hopefully somebody one day will do a serious analysis of what we gained and lost during that banana time. What gains were made, if any? What losses? And did those losses overwhelm the supposed gains? And are we still paying?
You're talking about the impact on the environment?
On the people, on customs, on the environment, on the land, on our attitudes. All that happened during the banana matter, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget that some of the worst demonstrations we had happened in the time of the bananas, you know. Politicians at work, right?
Yeah.
And people got killed, lands were destroyed in the interest of bananas, and nobody cared that we were killing people with our random use of insecticides and all that kind of stuff. So even when we appear to be winning, we're losing like hell. Okay? So, I remember in 85 or thereabouts, John Compton at a budget address was complaining about funds, government funds and so on. And he said he had three choices facing him. One, to increase taxes. Two, to trust public servants, for example, to stop wastage. And three, greater productivity. Which one do you think he chose?
Taxes?
No. He didn't raise the taxes.
Yeah.
Because he said he didn't want to raise taxes because taxes were already killing people. But those were the three choices he had. So really, let's leave the taxes out. One, he was going to trust the public servants to produce more and less wastage. He chose the less wastage one.
That's the easier way out of this particular issue.
Way out.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you have last night. I must connect them. You had Titus with you, and he was telling you all the stuff that we should do. We should try to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Should. Most of them had been tried already, including the airline, and failed miserably. Am I right?
You're right.
After the cause, he kind of became a little more frank. He started saying, yes, he agreed with this and he agreed with that. Because nothing has changed in the country except by to get worse because of the management of the country has been crap for years and years and years.
Absolutely.
That's crap. None of those people, or very few of those people who are asked to manage billions of dollars from all kinds of ways, manage people, give people health care, have no experience whatsoever in that. Never even did studies in that. Nothing. We just elect those people and put them in total charge of our lives and our destinies, whatever sense we're going to borrow from, They don't really need our word.
But Rick, they had to convince us, huh?
We don't take much convincing, boy, because we're just sheep. And that's what we have cultivated. It's almost our culture. Go back to the slavery times and fall out from slavery. I know we don't like to do that. You know, we like to rewrite slavery. Go back as far as you want. And we've basically been sheep, and not only sheep to the white man, sheep to the black man that take over from the white man too. Sheep. And in a lot of cases, the sheep try to emulate the very people they hate. Right now, who do we go to on bended knee for aid by whatever name, borrowing by whatever name? Who?
According to you, the white man?
According to me.
The white man.
I'll put it more carefully. Not to no black man. Okay? So we're busy hating black shades and getting people to do it with us, hating shades of people's color. Concentrate on that rather than the fact that we're being mismanaged and continue to be. All we are doing is mismanaging a mismanaged business.
Because you see, government after government, Rick, government after government have been complaining about the previous administration and the level of borrowing, you know. So the over $4 billion we have in debt, right, would have accrued during the reign of European SLP administrations. Several prime ministers under both UDOP and SLP are responsible for this. The point is, no one is coming up with anything creative other than either taxing the people or borrowing.
I want to tackle that for you because you know I heard that answer on that. We must not just say the obvious. We must give our opinions on why nobody is saying anything. First of all, because most people don't know shit about it. Okay, these are specialized fields. And in big countries, people with background are the ones who sit around a table. Not somebody from Babonneau who only tended to rabbits, or somebody from Beaufort who may have been an accountant, not necessarily of any... An accountant, just an illusion accountant.
Yeah, but our Prime Minister is an accountant trained at UE.
Our Prime Minister.
No. Rick, we're dealing with specifics. So in this particular case, I'm dealing with specifics. You're dealing about managing the affairs of the country. You're talking about taxing the people, and the Prime Minister of the country is an accountant. What say you?
Well, you see, what I'm trying to do, Tim, is show how we have been in that cesspool for so long, and we're pointing out, if you choose to go into specifics, that's okay with me as well. I'm not going to deny that. Because I'm saying to you, the normal, I insist, the reason Mia Motley at least sounds so good that even young people in foreign countries are clamoring around her like a goddamn rock star is because she has undergone a certain kind of education in the last few years. Advisor, people advising her, maybe she's smart enough to be taking advice, assault advice. Over here, guys you sit in a rum shop with and talking crap. They can't even pass a good joke. All of a sudden, those guys are orators, talking subjects they know nothing about. You know it's some half-assed permanent secretary wrote it, and usually from a template, because the permanent secretary himself doesn't know shit. Pardon my French. That is what we have, and we've come to a time when we can no longer keep whitewashing. Now, this gentleman from the Development Bank,
from the CARICOM,
who Lisa interviewed.
Oh, from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank.
Yeah. The man gave you an umbrella answer, you know. I mean, we don't stop to think about, analyze what the guy said. This guy says, well, what you going to do? The government has to sustain itself. You heard that?
Yeah.
So, what choices does it have? And basically repeated the Compton thing. So it is, and then nobody will say, I remember at the time of when VAT was imposed, I remember a particular gentleman who knows better, and he was chairing a meeting that was televised. And somebody on the panel said, now we were in recession in those days, and somebody said, that somebody else said the best time to impose those taxes is when the economy is ticking. I remember those words. How many words in there? Two?
About three.
About two?
About three.
The best time to impose the taxes like that, the VAT, is when the economy is ticking. And I said to the guy afterwards, how could you sit there, know the economy is catching its tail, we are in recession, and let the man say that, not challenge it? The man said to me, I was simply asked to chair this meeting. So if anybody wanted to challenge this guy, that's what we have here. Now, we have my good friend Peter King. I didn't hear him, but I heard him say that...
You'll be hearing from him in just a moment.
I mean, this is about the only country I know where people embrace taxes, Tim. You don't elect governments to impose taxes on you any more than you get them in to preach to you what morality and which is for the church to do. We have to start examining what the guy says. So even this man, this bank guy was not telling the government to increase the VAT. He was telling them they're in deep doo-doo and they have choices. And our thing is the lowest in the Caribbean. All the vague stuff, Tim. Big stuff.
That's why you have to read between the lines, Rick.
Exactly. But there's nobody doing it. And the reason is, I tell you, twofold. First, they're so damn inarticulate, most of them anyway. They don't want to be heard in public. Two, they better be careful what they say because most of their work comes from the government. And three, they have children who may need a scholarship and it can be blocked. So we are under a hammer of victimization. And not from one government, from every damn government, because everybody will tell you that they've been victimized in one way or another by one government or another.
Thank you so much, Rick. We have to end it there.
My goodness, I'm just warming up.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's hear from Kimani. Thank you so much. What's in the chat room, Kimani?
Let's see here. I don't think the people in the chat room would appreciate you cutting Rick off.
I give him sufficient time, about 8 minutes or so?
Someone says, wise up people, the very fact that they refuse to say precisely where the extra tax is going tells you it's going to line their own pockets in the form of extensive, unnecessary travel extravagant, so-called diplomatic parties. Someone says, Tim, I am confused. The PM is saying that the levy will not be on food items, and he's also saying that it will only be on items that attract VAT.
Because there are some food items that attract VAT.
Mm-hmm. The comment continues, what will happen to the food items that attract the VAT? Will the levy be imposed on those items? Let's see. Someone says, a landlord will have to increase their apartment or house rent. Let's see. Someone says, I pay tax on every item I purchase all over the world. Let's see. Someone says, Tim, what about the resources and tools used to plant and grow that food? Will the tax be on that, or is it only supermarkets who will benefit? Let's see. Someone says, Tim, if the increase is on everything except food, that means Macy's operational cost will go up. So who's paying for that? Not the consumers. And then the comment, someone says, there is already a levy on food. Prices are so high and PJP refuses to do anything about it. Someone says, so you did not consult with your Chamber of Cabinet before you imposed the 2.5% levy, but that is it.
Okay, let's see if we have some of your comments there. Okay, let's see. Okay, another comment. It's almost 3 years now. A minister promised he will personally go to Bordelais to release all prisoners on small marijuana charges. Up to now. Well, it's almost 2 years. Since maybe almost 3 years that he made the comment, yes. So it's almost 2 years since this government has come into office. So, but he says there, but Tim, when you do the math, compounding the 2.5% with the 12.5% comes to more than 15%. Another comment, no levy on food and medical supplies, but on the same goods that VAT is on. Really? We pay VAT on foods that do well. Tim, please explain what the Prime Minister really means. Let's see. Yeah, go ahead.
In the chat room, Rick, our PM is one of the most experienced parliamentarians in government. Another comment, if the SLP government can't handle the community carnivals, you expect them to handle the affairs of the island and its economy?
WhatsApp message. I now understand why the Chamber of Commerce will agree to the increase, in fact, because their members are collecting the taxes, holding and investing the taxes, making money on it, and when it's time to pay to the government, plus the interest, the government gives them amnesty while they have profited on withheld VAT taxes. Any more comments in the chat room?
Someone says, thank God I'm in England on vacation with my Prime Minister.
Another one, why increase VAT which impact the citizens directly? Why give the hotel 15 years tax exemption? Okay, that'll it from my end for the messages. And I think another one, the fuel tax was supposed to go towards road maintenance. Is it really going towards road repair? All right, that'll do it for your comments in the chat room and your WhatsApp messages. More of your calls in just a moment, and we'll be hearing from Chartered Accountant Richard Pittikin, who is with a partner with the St. Lucia office of Grand Thornton, Windward Islands.
On Friday, June 30th, at the Derek Walcott Square, the government of St. Lucia presents the Public Service Fair. We kick off from 9:30 with an ecumenical service at the cathedral. Then we move to the Derek Walcott Square for the biggest public service fair. Performances by Ezra the Fun Machine, Arthur Allen, the reigning Soca Monarch Frost, Coates, DJ Melonquench, Javin, and more. This Friday, June 30th, the Derek Walcott Square. Admission absolutely free. Inviting everyone, come on down as we celebrate the public service.
Exceeding your expectations is what we strive for at Lazarus Funeral Home. Losing a loved one isn't something you can foresee. Since the beginning, affordability has been one of our priorities. Every day we're proving that burials don't have to be expensive. If cost is a factor in your time of bereavement, call Lazarus Funeral Home. We have coffins starting at $800 plus taxes. Nothing can cause more disappointment than poor quality. Help us help you keep your last memory of your loved one sacred. Make it special. Make it Lazarus Funeral Home, your friend in a time of need. Located at Bibliotheque Castries at 452-7491 and New Dock Road V4 at 454-6555.
To protect appliances from lightning, rain, and floodwater damage, unplug them, then turn off the main switch. Lightning can produce electrical surges which can damage equipment. Protect your electronics from water damage as well. Make sure you have flashlights, battery-powered radios, and extra fresh batteries available. Be smart, stay safe.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Why pay full price for your mobile when you can pay half? Just bundle your home internet and mobile services with Flow and save 50% on your mobile bill. That's money in your pocket every month. Plus, now you get free YouTube and WhatsApp data. And you can share your plan with up to 3 other numbers. Upgrade now and get a free smartphone. Switch and keep your number. Learn more at discoverflow.co.
Tired of searching all over and still can't find the auto part you need? At Fede Auto Parts, we make it easy for you and save you the frustration and running around. From Toyota to Chevy to Daihatsu to those rare truck parts, we've got you covered. And we're quick with special orders with frequent flights from Japan, the US, and the UK. Visit our store or give us a call at 450-7500 or 484-8141. Save time and avoid the line. Fede Auto Parts, Bois de Waj, Why stop anywhere else?
One of the biggest events for St. Lucia's Carnival has returned. Rum Bucket Waterland. More water, more paint, more foam. Sunday, 16th July at Gaiety Grounds from 11 p.m. Small coolers will be allowed, but no ice, no chaser. Must be 18 and older to enter. ID will be checked. Your ticket outlets are Steve's Barbershop and all the Cell outlets. Rum Bucket Waterland.
Cause when we reach the waterfront, we doing whatever the hell we want.
Get ready for more water, more paint, and more foam. Sponsored by KFC, Digicel, and White Oak.
Glass Supermarket continues to be your family-oriented local supermarket which spares no effort to affordably bring you the world.
Trust Glass.
For quality and friendly service.
Trust Glass.
For daily excellent specials and fantastic prices.
Trust Glass.
For the best quality bread. Check out Glass for your delicious French pastries and meals.
Also, you must know that Glass caters for your special occasion with these quality French pastries and cakes.
Be sure to earn points on your Glass card as we say thank you for your support, St. Lucia. Glass Supermarkets, contact number 452-8814.
Plastic Solutions, catering to all your commercial and domestic plastic and paper bag needs. We also manufacture printed and non-printed plastic bags. Located on the cul-de-sac Bexo Highway, Plastic Solutions is an environmentally friendly company because of its high standard plastic recycling process. For orders and inquiries, please call 758-451-5577 or visit us on the cul-de-sac Bexo Highway.
Automotive art is a place to start.
Automotive art is now bigger and better with bargains galore. Automotive art has expanded. With new exciting products and increased shopping comfort, we welcome you to visit. Celebrate with us and take advantage of our specials. New tires starting at $129, 25% off all tools and accessories, up to 75% off rims, BOGO specials, car care bundles, and other bargains galore. Automotive art, bigger and better.
Art is a place to start.
The crime fighter of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, whose actions should be emulated by his colleagues, he has done something which is very worthy of emulation, and referring there to a cop who cares, Siobhan Matthew. The Association of Caribbean Commissioners and the Amalgamated Security Services Limited in May of this year held their special awards ceremony. And the awards program recognized a total of 9 outstanding police officers from the member countries of the ACCP. Inspector Siobhan Matthew, inspector in charge of the CID in Castries, Royal St. Lucia Police Force. He won the Top Caribbean Crime Fighter Award, and he received a trophy, a certificate, and a cash prize of $5,000. What he did with that money? Well, the inspector decided to donate his prize earnings to 3 institutions that, according to him, are close to his heart. They are the Marion Home at Leslie Land, Castries, which provides care and shelter for the elderly, the Children's Home at Cicero, which supports orphans and vulnerable children, and the Soufrière Comprehensive Secondary School, which is his alma mater. So, certainly worthy of emulation, the actions of Siobhan Matthew, a cop who cares. So imagine, Kimani, your prize money is US $5,000. What would you do with that money? Would you donate that money to the Marion Home, the Children's Home at Cicero, and to your alma mater? What would you do? And be honest.
I might take some and give some to Marion's Home, I guess.
I think you'd utilize all. $5,000. All right. Let us hear now from Richard Pitterkin, partner with the St. Lucia office of Grand Thornton, Windward Islands, speaking this morning on the Power 97.9 morning program, The Threesome in the Morning. And he was being quizzed by one of the hosts, Big Slim.
As the ministry, explained to us, it works like a VAT, but it is not VAT.
Okay.
It works like a VAT because it's going to be implemented on all goods and services, both imported and local, but with some significant exceptions, such as all food and medicine items, construction materials, and a few other things, which when they put out the actual legislation, we would understand. Now, it is a piece of legislation, so that has to be passed in the House. It's not just an amendment to the VAT Act. That is one of the significant differences. Another significant difference is in VAT, if you pay VAT, if you're registered for VAT, and I'm thinking more of businesses now, and you import something or you pay a service on which you pay VAT, you can offset that against the VAT that you have to pay on your goods, and that's called an input VAT tax credit.
As a business.
You're right. You cannot do that with this particular levy. This is a one-off levy, and so you cannot actually deduct it from the VAT that you're going to pay. And so we could see some problems because, I mean, it doesn't have to do with whether you're registered for VAT or not. It means that just about everybody in the country that is providing a good or service, so you no longer have the $400,000 exemption that you have under the VAT Act. That means everybody, unless they're selling food and medicine, etc., has to charge this levy. But how is the government going to collect it from, all and sundry? People that are not registered, people that may have small businesses in the country. That's a problem that I know they face. But at the end of the day, what it means, I'll give you an example. So you import something and it costs you, let's make it easy, $100. The 2.5% is added to the CIF value. So it costs you 100, you have to add the 2.5, so it's now 102.5. And if that good that you are importing is valuable, you now charge the VAT on that 102.5. So in effect, it's a bit compounded when you see how it works out. And that might increase, the overall cost of purchasing items. But 12.5% of 2.5 is not a huge number. So in essence, what the ministry did was they gave us a very detailed indication of what entities, what types of goods and services would be subject to the VAT, and even to the point of giving us the tariff numbers so that people could check and see, all right, now I know, so when it comes in, I'll be ready. Obviously, there's going to be some paperwork that has to be sorted out, and they have between now and August 2nd to get that done. So it's designed to raise $333 million, and our conclusion was that if this money that it raised was used, explicitly for health and services, and particularly if it helped us to introduce a universal health care, or it helped us to improve our security services, it would probably be a reasonable trade-off. Because we're very concerned about health, we're very concerned about security. And if the government needs that extra money to do it, if they can guarantee that they will spend that money. So I asked the question, is it going to be in a lockbox, or is it going to be ring-fenced so they guarantee that money will be spent? And the answer was no. It was just going to government's consolidated fund, but they felt that they needed that extra money. So, as to how true that is, we can't tell because obviously we're in the private sector. But at the end of the day, it seemed to a lot of us it would have been simply easier to increase the VAT to 15%, which it was before, and people had got used to living with that. The reduction to 12.5 did not make a huge difference in basically the growth in the economy or the country as a whole. But they did not appear to want to do that for whatever reason. I don't know whether that was political or not. It remains to be seen. Fact is, they are going to do it from the 2nd of August. And, they're still having consultations with different stakeholders. And so people will get a lot more details, so they will be prepared and ready for it. People were a little concerned about the extra paperwork, but I guess that's part of living in this part of the world. The main point is that, in essence, it's not that. It's going to be added on to the price of goods and services. So another example, if I was selling a service here in St. Lucia, and I was charging $100, I would now have to charge the 2.5.
Right.
It would be one or 2.5, and then VAT would be on top of that.
That would be taxed on, like it would be on top of the 102.5.
Correct. So that's the one issue that some people had a concern about, because it tends to compound it and increase it. But it's 2.5%, so it doesn't increase it that much at the end of the day.
Yeah, but the people who low income folks, that's a big deal.
My friend, everybody is worried about low income folks, as I am.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the rest of us? There are more than one people in this country.
True.
And if you're in business and you have having a tight time, everything affects you.
Mm-hmm.
So this affects business as well. The question is, obviously people will adjust. They will reprice their items. It may have an impact on inflation. But at the end of the day, it's 2.5%. We're magnifying it beyond its potential to increase inflation. It really isn't that huge an impact as if you work it out. And so the big question to me is more the having the paperwork and so on that's going to be involved, and it's just another thing that people in business have to do and deal with and pay the government. It's bureaucratic that most people are concerned about, not so much the inflationary effect. It might inflate something, but if you're buying a fridge and it goes up by 2.5%, it's not the end of the world. It's all that stuff.
You just said there from Chartered Accountant, Mr. Richard Pitterkin, a partner from Grant Thornton, Windward Islands. Let's take your calls, 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. And let me just state again that he spoke with Big Slim, one of the hosts of Power 97 morning program, Threesome in the Morning, weekdays 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. We have a call. Good afternoon, you're on the air.
Timothy, a pleasant good afternoon to you and your listeners all over the world. PW on the line, Timothy.
Good afternoon to you, caller.
Timothy, I heard from Rick Wayne a few minutes ago, and I must say I concurred with what he said, everything with what he said. But you have the hacks that will call in, Timothy, that will agree with the 2.5% increase for health and services, or health and security levy upon the citizens of this country by this government. I am surprised that this government has tackled that 2.5% levy, and they did not actually tackle or go into the livable wage, Timothy. I mean, it's a domino effect. You have, employers that have increased their staff salary per hour by 26, 25 cents, and as you know, Timothy, there isn't much that these salaries can do. A lot of people in St. Lucia is living on a hand-to-mouth basis. And I can tell you this 2.5% levy is not appropriate at this time. The government should look into the livable wage at this point in time. You're telling me that the country had an increase in revenue for the last year. Isn't that true, Timothy?
Yes, that's what was stated by the Prime Minister.
Yes. If we had an increase in revenue, why is it appropriate at this point in time to introduce a 2.5% levy on the people of St. Lucia? The government has predicted that they will have a shortfall in revenue for the fiscal year coming, Timothy. This is why this levy is being implemented. What if this levy is implemented and a year or two later, Timothy, the VAT increase, instead of 12.5%, it increased by 15%. So you have 15% VAT, then you have 2.5% levy. Do you really believe the solution salary? These small salaries can cushion this? There's a lot of stress on the people of St. Lucia. This is not the time to have this 2.5% levy. The government knows that the economy in Europe, there are high inflation. It's not good in Europe. It is not good in the U.S. They know that, so they're taking advantage of that before, our economy take a nosedive. Look at the 17% fuel we pay in gas already. Timothy, that's a lot. That's a lot of stress on solutions, The government need to find another mechanism so that they can increase, revenue to make this country and to keep St. Lucian, at bay for 2005, Timothy. I thank you.
Thank you so much for calling, sir. 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Kimani, anything in the chat room worth reporting on?
Someone says, some of us will be facing starvation, homelessness. Another comment, someone says, it's not the end of the world. Peter King, because you can afford to pay as a rich elite. What about the poor and those vulnerable persons? Another comment, someone says, let's see. If you buy a fridge and the price increases by 2.5%, for most people, that's no big deal. Really? Someone says, no wonder the people want their passports to bail out of SLU. Another comment, why do they need the extra money? Can they account for the money they already have? Another comment, so the difference is for the business owners in terms of paperwork, but nothing more expense for the consumer and raising millions while people are struggling. Another comment, Peter King, if it quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, it is indeed a duck. Let's see, must give kudos to that policeman for sharing his good fortune with those charitable institutions. And let me see if I can find any other comments in the chat room. I see that is it.
All right, we have a call. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Quickly, the last caller, some guys is very overdo it, man. The guy calling assuming that if in a year's time or 2 years' time they increase the VAT to 2.5 to 15, then you have to be 15 plus the 2.5, 17.5. Why are guys doing the same, making a whole rigmarole over that thing? I mean, it's obvious that this 2.5, even if it doesn't apply the same as the VAT, is basically to increase the much needed revenue for medicine, for our health sector, for our security, for our police force, to get the
You know how long taxes have been imposed on us in St. Lucia to deal with so many remedies, to remedy so many issues?
Yeah.
Okay?
Rick,
and those things have not worked, caller. They have not worked.
Rick made a massive error there, man, saying why we're not bringing governments to put taxes. But that's the only way government can raise taxes. That's the only government can raise revenue.
That's the only way that government can raise revenue. You're not making sense. That's the only way.
Not the only way, but that's the main.
Tax the rich, tax the middle class, tax the poor people, and sit to run government. That doesn't make any sense, caller.
Not the only way, but the main way government can raise money by taxes or going back.
Well, we don't have any. Well, we don't have any use for governments. We don't have any use. We don't have any use for governments if they cannot make our lives better. Okay, we do not have any use for them.
Let's be real. Either you beg Japan, beg Taiwan, beg America, beg England, or you put taxes on goods, on services, and you make the money to run the country. So do not say government shouldn't be putting taxes. They have to do that, my brother. See, if tomorrow you're in government, you have to find ways of raising revenue, and the only choice is to go and beg or put tax on goods and services.
All right, thank you so much. Folks, the governments in Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew and those people, they did not have that kind of mindset of just taxing the people and taxing the people and taxing the people and using those same funds to just engage in wasteful exercises. I mean, you have a civil service that is bursting at its seams with people who are not efficient, and we've been talking about this for several years. Governments after governments create positions for boys and girls who support them while they were in opposition, providing all kind of consultancies to so many people, and we have to pay for it by what? Through taxation. And you're saying that's the only way that a government can run the affairs of a country. This happens in St. Lucia, but there are a number of other countries where the emphasis is not on taxing the people to run the affairs of the country. And then you still end up failing the people in the areas of healthcare, in terms of their security, in terms of creating jobs for the people, in terms of creating opportunities for them, the enabling environment for them to prosper, for them to grow. Certainly, we need a better method to tackle our ailing problems in this country. We have a call. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon to you, sir.
You hear how ridiculous that man sound? That is the only way government can raise taxes of Haiti. I mean, so many ideas have been given, to government over the past of ways and means, where you can create revenue and jobs. And that is what we're coming with. It's all people like that, just have the country in the state it is, coming with a ridiculous idea. That is the only way government can raise taxes. What's about the agriculture sector? Right? That is so profitable. They're not even looking at it. Right? If the government go there, if any government go there full-fledged, they can create more than enough revenue in the agriculture sector and do whatever they want. We're talking that is the only way government can raise revenue by taxing people. Nonsense, man. But I need to say to him that what I overheard that nothing is happening at St. Jude. 2 contractors have already refused, the job in order to do what they have to do in St. Jude's. So St. Jude's, I understood, is at a standstill. Have a good afternoon.
All right, thank you so much. Hope the Ministry of Health officials, the spokespeople, can provide us with some clarity on this particular statement that you just made, the claim that you just made. Let's continue with more of your calls and your WhatsApp messages. This is NewsSpin. Good afternoon. You are on the air. Hello.
Good afternoon. Bon après-midi, NewsSpin.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Let me tell you that the caller before the last has been very ridiculous. Let me try and enlighten our memory. COVID came on us. The ex-Prime Minister had removed 2.5% on the VAT. COVID hit us. He went below zero. He never thought about putting it back. That's what you call leader. He never thought about putting it back. You know what he did? He went into the construction industry and he opened up the works on the roads everywhere to give people work. You remember that, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did. The man never thought of taxing us. The man went and he opened up the works. He opened up construction. And we had construction road works all over the island. And the Labour Party come and lie to the people of St. Lucia, and the people of St. Lucia believe them, and today they cannot do nothing. They are not better than Chasney, and today they are taxing us. We are paying for our sins. How are we doing? Thank you.
Thank you so much. We can take at least one more call at 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. In the meantime, let me go through our NewsSpin news of the day. No presidential election in Ukraine till war ends, according to President Zelensky. No presidential election in Ukraine till war ends, according to President Zelensky. Our final call. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yes, Tim, I really want to agree with you and saying that governments have outlived the usefulness. Because if that's the only way you can generate revenue, what about cutting costs, like you mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
What about looking at all of these things? Because if you own a private business, Tim, you would cut costs, not want to borrow more money, right?
You have to.
Okay, you speak to your staff, everybody take a pay cut, do something, because at the end of the day, during COVID, we all took a pay cut.
Except government workers, huh?
They got an increase. Okay, I know they got a 67% increase in June of COVID. That's the same year of COVID. So if you have to look at it from that standpoint, it's unconscionable. Whether it be an increase in government salaries, whether it be an increase in taxes, because you're all doing it at the expense of the people. Stop taking the public for your ATM, because at the end of the day, you cannot tax your way out of this debt. The debt is growing and growing, and you're just borrowing and borrowing, all at the expense. You're socializing, what they calling it, expenditure, and you're privatizing profit. This system cannot continue. It's not equitable, and it's going to tip over, and people are going to revolt. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Any more comments in the chat room, Kimani, before we conclude?
We have someone saying, but what do the people get? Wait, someone says, Tim, taxes are imposed everywhere. And someone responded saying, but what do the people get in return in these other countries? Someone says, Tim, take one for NewsSpin and go to lunch with the caller who asked you to go to lunch, I guess.
I don't know.
Someone says all countries have VAT. The French calls it TVA, but they put it in a way that people will not feel it. But in St. Lucia, I've never heard things going up so high. Another comment, someone says, let's see, we need initiatives to implement policies to expand our economy to increase revenue. However, in the defense of the, well, I shouldn't say it like that, in the defense of the government, they did say that it was just one initiative to help improve the economy. In a press release, they stated that it is not a standalone solution to addressing the burdensome debt that this administration now has to honor, but part of a comprehensive approach to strengthen our economy and improve the lives of our citizens. But that is it in the chat room.
Thank you so much, Kimani. To be continued, no doubt, because come August the 2nd, as you heard, the levy, 2.5%, will be implemented, I think, between now and that date, that period. We'll continue to have our discussion on it, and you'll continue to have your say, looking at it from various perspectives. That's another edition of NewsSpin right here on Power 97.9 FM. Also on YouTube, as well as the NewsSpin Facebook page. Coming up next is the Power Drive. Be safe and continue to enjoy your Thursday. Goodbye.